Hi everybody, this is my channel Mimi Heba. Welcome to my channel. My name is Vicky. Once again, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate your time and your energy in this channel and in this video. In my video, in my channel rather, I share my life experiences. I also provide some insight into the lessons that I've learned, and in so doing, my intention and hope is that there'll be something here that will either inspire, motivate, or educate you, especially if you are on some form of a transformational journey. So if that resonates with you, please feel right at home in this channel. In today's video, I will be continuing on the topic that I've been covering over the last couple of videos, which has been our emotional imprint to money. And as I mentioned before, we can possibly or potentially have, or there are 4 different attachment styles or emotional imprints that we could potentially have, which were the secure, the anxious, the dismissive, and the disorganized attachment style or emotional imprint. I use those words interchangeably in all my videos. Today, I'll be looking at the anxious attachment style. And I'll be looking at how that would present itself, or the characteristics in terms of when you're in an adult life. And as I've mentioned in my previous videos, I've tailored these to talk about financial matters because I think it's a relevant topic. And I think that the emotional imprint that we gain, or that we gather, or that we absorb regarding all things finance dictate the way in which we navigate our financial matters in our adult lives. So there's the anxious. I'm going to be talking about what the characteristics are of an adult anxious attachment style, how it would present itself. I'll also be looking at how that would have occurred in your childhood environment, if that's what you are associating yourself with, or if that resonates with you. And then I'll be talking about the goals of I'll finish off with discussing about the goals of an anxious attachment style. And what that basically means is I'll be looking at how that can be transformed into becoming a secure attachment style, so that once again, we can open up all the potential that we have within ourselves to manifest financial abundance into our lives. So to begin off with, the anxious attachment style basically presents itself, or is when someone has a negative self-image and a positive image of others. So the way they perceive themselves is in a negative manner, and the way they perceive others is in a positive manner. And what this means basically is that there's a sense of unworthiness in self, which is sad, but that's how it presents itself. But generally will evaluate other people positively. They'll evaluate others in a more positive light. So when you have a sense of unworthiness, how that presents itself is you don't trust yourself. You don't trust in your capabilities or in your abilities to handle your own financial matters. So there's a low self-esteem here when you have a sense of unworthiness. So you're not willing to take risks. You're not willing to go out there and to put yourself out there and to put yourself in the path of opportunity, because inherently there's this sense that you're not worthy of any opportunities that there might be for you. And because you sense that, because that's what you feel within yourself, you don't put yourself out there. So there's a fear attached to this anxious attachment style, or this particular attachment style. And so you are not able to feel, you don't feel that you're capable of meeting your own financial goals. So another characteristic of this is you would have a nervous feeling around the subject of money. This is actually one I want to address. I think a lot of us have a nervous sort of attitude towards money, which we shouldn't, to be honest, because money is currency. Money is an exchange. It's a form of exchange. It's really what that is. But there's this perception that has been created about money. There's just so much messaging about money that some people consider it to be evil. Some people consider that even the discussion of it should not be discussed, And so because of that avoidance of that whole subject around money, a lot of us might feel nervous discussing the topic of money. I can actually confess to being one of those people who in the past has been quite shy and nervous about opening up in terms of finance matters, but yet and truly I do have an inherent passion towards the subject of money. I think that, as I've mentioned in the video before, it makes the world go round. We do need it. It's a form of exchange. It's a currency we use to exchange our goods and services, and so it's something that is so pertinent in our everyday life and something that's worth discussing and worth being comfortable around. But moving on to other characteristics around the anxious attachment style is that, as I mentioned, you will be very self-critical of your self-critical. So you'll be that internal messaging, or what I referred to in the previous video as your intrapersonal skill, the self-talk, the way you talk to yourself is of a self-critical manner. You'll have a low self-esteem and you'll not feel like you're good enough. And again, what this does is it hinders you. It stops you from going out there and, reaching out or trying out or being adventurous or seeking opportunities that they might be that could open up doors for you, that could enable you or could ensure that you meet your financial goals. So self-esteem is such a key characteristic in us being able to manifest financial abundance into our lives. You are fearful of your future, and all this is because of just that fear that you're incapable of handling your own financial matters and you're incapable of meeting your financial goals. So there's just that insecure need in you that makes you unsure about your future. You may also have an urge to be clingy around money because of that sense that that's all you have. It's also coming from a self-limiting belief, a belief that there isn't enough, that you're not capable of meeting your financial goals in future. That can make you become too clingy to around money. Also, being independent and autonomous makes you nervous because remember, once again, the sense of self is you have a negative self-image. You believe in other people, but you don't believe in yourself, which, like I mentioned, it's a sad thing, but it does happen. And, it's something that can be transformed. That's a good thing, but it's something that does happen even to the best of us. Now, because of all this, you might have a jealous streak towards other people's success. And jealousy stems from you thinking, or when we feel that we're jealous of someone else, what that is, there's a deeper messaging in that, right? What that is telling you is that there's somewhere in yourself where you don't believe in your own ability to achieve what someone else has achieved. Now, it doesn't have to be copying exactly what they've achieved, but say you're jealous because someone got a new role, or someone has a new car, someone bought a house. The reason why you'd be feeling jealous of that is because deep down there's some messaging, there's a narrative inside you that is telling you that you're not good enough to have the same or to manifest something of the like, that you're incapable of achieving that, which is a false narrative, because we are all capable. We all have abilities within ourselves to manifest the desires of our hearts, but the first step has to be that we believe in ourselves, we believe in who we are, and we believe in our abilities, so that we can be able to take actions that align with those intentions and with those desires that we do have. So an anxious attachment style could have been created from inconsistency and unpredictability in your childhood. And what this would have resulted in is, one, it would have caused anxiety. If you can imagine a situation where you didn't know, it was just unpredictable whether your financial needs will be met, or it was inconsistent, such that one month things are, bills are paid and you are safe, you feel that you're not being kicked out, and then maybe next month there's panic around the house, people are packing up, you don't know where you're going to stay, you don't know where your next meal will come from. That sense of unpredictability and inconsistency creates an imprint of feeling anxious, because you just feel like you're on your toes. You just feel like the rug is about to be pulled from underneath your feet at any time. This also might have created, rightfully or wrongfully, a messaging that you are unworthy of your needs being met and being met consistently. And I'll explain what I mean by rightfully and wrongfully. Or wrongfully. Sometimes, maybe growing up, situations could have resulted in our parents or our caregivers having to have made tough decisions, such as abruptly uprooting us from our secure base or a sense of safety. That in and of itself, the action would have created an imprint in you, and that's what I mean, rightfully or wrongfully. Now, maybe they just didn't have a choice. It's just the external circumstances. If maybe a caregiver lost their job and they just could no longer be able to provide financially for their family, they meant that they had to make some really tough decisions. Unfortunately, those decisions do leave an imprint, especially if there's not open communication as the process is going on, and even if it was a period of transition, once this matters had settled, if there was no afterward, there was no consultation or communication as to what had occurred and why it had occurred, and maybe why there are steps being taken for it not to occur. That emotional imprint, that messaging, that action in and of itself, what it would have told your brain, your developing brain, is, I don't know what will happen in the future, because given what has happened in the past, if we were to go with the events that have already transpired, we can't just feel safe, because we could be uprooted anytime. Things could change, our circumstances could change anytime. And sometimes, most times, our caregivers obviously have the best intentions for us, and they have our best interests at heart. Most times this is what would have happened, but unfortunately that emotional imprint is already set in our emotional bodies, or within us, or in our subconscious, and it does play out because it creates a template. And when we go out into the world, that single event, if it was one event or if it was a recurring thing that occurred, maybe one year you're safe and then a year you're not safe, or 1 month you're safe and another month you're not safe, that inconsistency has created that messaging that you can't, it's created an imprint that you're not worthy of consistency, right? And so what that does is it doesn't give you that self-esteem, that sense of worthiness within yourself, that you deserve to have security, that you deserve to have safety in your life. And you take that along in your adult life, you take that in as you handle your financial matters. And typically this would have occurred for your caregiver as they were growing up, and that's why this imprint was passed on to them, and unfortunately it's been passed on to you. But the good thing about these things, the good thing about emotional imprints, the good thing about attachments, we can break the cycle. Once we shed light, and once we bring consciousness into them, we can change the narrative, we can change the cycle, we can course correct. And so I'm going to move on to the next part of this video, which looks at the goals that an anxious attachment style, if you have resonated with that, if there's something there that has made you think, maybe I do have an anxious attachment style, this next section is going to look at how you can transform that attachment style, what you can do so that you can transmute and transform that attachment style, and you can break the cycle and begin to manifest financial abundance into your life. So the first thing to do is to invest in yourself. So the most important thing about an anxious attachment style is there has to be plenty of self-investment. What you're trying to do is you're trying to build that sense of self-worth. So you just have to invest in yourself. And what that looks like is being able to depend on yourself. And when you do, you give credit to yourself, being able to be reliable, to have that self-reliability. And if that means, taking on educational courses, if that means talking to a financial advisor, for example, consulting one, then that's still investing in yourself. If that means reading, self-reading, just enhancing who you are and investing in your skills and your abilities, you're really pouring into your cup, and you're really increasing your self-awareness, and you're increasing your self-image. You're changing that negative self-image to becoming a positive self-image. And it takes baby steps. Once you're able to meet one small goal, once you're like, well, I've actually been able to achieve these goals. Say I've been able to pay my own rent through me working consistently in a job for 1 year. That's something to celebrate, and that's something worth recognizing. And through that, you can continue to build up on your self-reliability and becoming more dependable on yourself. I would actually argue, I do feel I have I have really transformed and transmuted a lot of any emotional imprints that were unhealthy in me over the last few years. And one of the ways I've done it for myself is if I have an issue or a problem, I try and solve it myself. And the more I've learned to solve issues and problems for myself, the more I have really just gained that self-confidence. And what I mean by that is, even for example, like things like where we are told as women, that's none of, you shouldn't, that's not your purview. Things like cars, I now have the courage to even take my car for servicing, and I can do it independently, and I can do it by myself. But it took me baby steps. It took me first of all being self-reliable, just investing in myself, saying, okay, I can do my own research. I'll ask where I need to ask, but I also need to take my own initiative, instead of just raising my hands up in surrender and saying that I can't do this, that this isn't, I'm not capable of doing it. So through being able to take on goals, to take on challenges that have come into my life and do the best I can. I'm not saying I don't seek help where I need, but taking that initiative and doing the best I can for myself, and then asking for assistance where I need to, and believing in myself, has really helped me in increasing my sense of self-worth. So again, remember, it's because your sense of self-worth has been badly damaged, and you're just trying to reestablish it. So the many ways that you can continue to do it. In that same respect, it's good to do self-care. So to, do good things to yourself, like whatever you enjoy doing, whether it's a massage, whether it's, a bit of shopping, taking yourself out for dinner, or going out with your friends, doing that for yourself. You're feeding into your own cup, you're feeding into your own self-esteem, you're validating yourself, and that's what you want to do. You want to create that validation from within, instead of relying on someone else to validate you. What you're trying to do is to bring back that validation, and to bring back that sense of self-worth to yourself, to gain it, to be able to go within, to encourage and to depend on yourself, and to be able to trust yourself that you've got this, you can do this, you have everything in yourself to do what you need to do to achieve your financial goals in your life. Also being aware of your patterns, being aware, knowing what your patterns are. I know this sounds cliche, but that's a starting point for all this, to understand where it stems from, to know when it's triggered, to know when it's anxiety. And what this means is sometimes you just need to stop and reflect. If you're overly triggered, give it time, take time, reflect, think about it, ask yourself, why am I triggered? You're most likely to see a pattern. You're most likely to see whether it's a partner, there's something that they're touching on that makes you maybe scared, or that is creating some form of anxiety. And once you bring that to light, you can be able to then go to the next step, which is to challenge your thoughts. When you're experiencing any negative thought patterns, you can question them, and you need to remind yourself, are these real? You need to stack them against real evidence. So if it's saying you can't do this, if your mind is telling you you're incapable of doing that, you challenge that thought and say, why not? Why can't I do it? Sit with yourself and have that conversation, and then pull up receipts from the past where you've done something and say, well, I did this. And that's why I say it again, it's so important to self-invest, because you're building up that rapport, rather not rapport, but resume for yourself that you can then go back to in future and say, well, I did this. If I've done this in the past, I've got me. I can do this. I'm capable of doing this. So if those negative thoughts creep in, you can arrest them. You can catch them dead in the track and say, well, that's actually not my narrative. I'm challenging that. I can do this. I just need to take it a step at a time. And as you begin to establish a strong sense of self-worth and a strong sense of yourself and self-esteem, you can then start to set some strong self-boundaries for yourself and also boundaries for others. And what that does is it helps you create time to be able to invest in yourself, to be able to put in the time and the energy in projects that are going to enhance you in a financial manner. Anytime you are investing in yourself, you're increasing your value, you're increasing your self-worth, and it's going to reflect itself. It's going to show up in a very tangible manner. So it's never lost when you're investing in yourself. It's never gonna go to waste when you invest in yourself, whether it's through reading or whether it's through self-care. It shows up, it comes back, you'll get a payback for it. So that is the anxious attachment style. I hope that at the end, the goals, if you resonated with that, something that you felt it was what you have within you, I hope these goals can begin that process for you of transforming this attachment style. As I've mentioned before, our attachment styles are not static. They're not set in stone. We can transmute them. We can transform them. I'm a living testimony of that. I have transformed my attachment style, not only in love, but also in relationship to money, and I've seen tangible results. I've seen how that has improved my life significantly, and that's why I'm so passionate about this. That's why I want to share this, and I wanted to share this with everyone so that it can, I hope, inspire and I hope educate, as I've mentioned before, motivate someone who is maybe at crossroads, or maybe who is wanting to change their attachment style, or who feels that if they had any question whether they can change their attachment style or whether they can change their financial situation, indeed you can. Your financial situation really is a reflection of your self-value. I'm just going to say that in summary, but in many ways it shows how we value ourselves, which means we can change our financial position and our financial status at any time. That's something else that's not static. It's dynamic. It changes. And so that's a good thing to know, because if you're not where you want to be, you definitely have the opportunity to put in measure, or to put in actions, or to do the work so that you can improve your financial position and you can live a life that that is filled with financial abundance. And that's what we all deserve. I keep saying that we all definitely deserve to live a fulfilled, happy and peaceful life. And that's truly what I wish for everyone out there who is listening to me on this video. I'm going to leave this video here. I'll be looking at the next attachment style in my next video. I don't know which one, so I'm not going to mention it. But be on the checkout for that one. But for now, I will leave this here. If there's something that you would love to share, and I'd love to definitely hear from you, so definitely hit the comment section below. Otherwise, I want to wish you so much love and light, and until next time, take good care of yourself.